Welcome back, Asker listeners, to Star Lady Soul Reader Network. This is your host, Media Monk, and as always on these podcasts, I have our shining star of the zodiac, Star Lady. Hi, Star Lady.
Hello, Media Monk.
And we all remember Star Lady as Kim Marie, the Managing Director for the Evolutionary Astrology Network. EAN continues to work with new astrologers to get them certified, and we also have a lot of other people just are attracted to our materials for soul growth. You know, she studied that EA paradigm for how many years now? I'm going to go, it's got to be going on 34, 35 years.
39, sweetie.
Oh, my goodness. See how time flies. Hey, go to our website. Yeah, time is definitely flying by. Go to our website at www.evolutionaryastrology.net. If you want to chat with Leroy about our EA course or anything on the website, call 605-348-5111. Also, to schedule your springtime session with Star Lady or Kim Marie. So a lot of ways to communicate with us and get involved in evolutionary astrology. And I guess before I turn it over to you, honey, I'm just going to say, we're going to extend we got a little course sale going on now. We're going to do that for one more week. So it's a solar eclipse sale on our EA course material, save $50, as well as a discount on Kim Marie's most recent powerful workshop on the Great Ingress Decade. So go to our website to find more information on that, get your orders in. So with that, I'll turn it over to you. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Media Monk. Hello, everyone. Let's just start right off. We're recording this the day before the solar eclipse on April 8th, which will happen at 19.5 degrees Aries with an exact Chiron conjunction to the minute, 19 Aries, 24 minutes. And I hope many of you, especially in the North America, get to see this solar eclipse. We are socked in with clouds. We've got 2.5 inches of rain, and I'm so grateful for the rain, but I'm kind of in a ho-hum because I don't even get to see the eclipse. It's 97% cloud cover where I live tomorrow, so it's like, okay. So I'll try and be enthusiastic for everybody else in the eclipse path. Solar eclipses, the totality is about a 90-mile wide strip that goes across the Earth. And so there's been a lot of hype here in the U.S. about it. By the way, if you do not have eclipse glasses, you can take a piece of paper and you can put a hole in it, you know, especially like if you had like a paper punch and you could put one of a hole about that size, then you look at the reflection on the ground, you look at that reflection on the sidewalk, and the sun will appear to be a crescent with the moon blocking it out. It's almost like the moon, when you look at the reflection on the ground, the moon's the white part and the sun is the shadow, darker reflection. So it's kind of interesting to look at solar eclipses that way as well. You know, when you're in the path of totality, the paperclip thing doesn't, or the paper hole punch thing doesn't work quite as good. It really works when you have a partial solar eclipse and you get that crescent. So we are in North Node eclipse season. North Node eclipses are about moving forward on emotional levels. The eclipses lining up sun, moon, and earth, they always take place on the moon's nodes, where that moon's path crosses the sun's path. They line up twice a year during those eclipses. So again, North Node eclipse season, how are we moving forward? And to be having this North Node eclipse right there in Aries, and there is just a whole stellium of planets that are about 70 degrees from Mars to Uranus in the sky. Pluto's the exception, off on its own. if you are in that path of totality, it is quite possible that you will see it dark enough that you can see Mars and Venus and Mercury and Jupiter and Saturn and in the sky. And so, again, I hope many of you get to see these inner planets in that darkened sky for 4 minutes. But Aries, what are we initiating right now? And, of course, Mercury went retrograde April 1st through April 25th from 27 to 16 degrees Aries. It really is pushing us forward. Now, Chiron, as I've been saying, offers opportunities with health and healing. But in Aries, it can also bring the distortions of woundedness, exemplified, exaggerated, or the fighting, me versus you, that Martian war energy that wants to come out. In the pre-call, Media Monk said, I was reviewing what happened on the lunar eclipse for us, and he goes, well, what's tomorrow going to bring? And I said, nothing, absolutely nothing, Media Monk. I want just a regular, ordinary Monday, moving forward with spring, maybe out in the yard a little bit with all the rain. We live on an acre and a half, basically in pine trees, mountains, and our well pump went out right before the eclipse, the lunar eclipse. And then Media Monk's mother went into the hospital again. And so it took us 10 days. Thank goodness my mom's here in town. We moved in with my mom and my sister and niece for 10 days because I had such sympathy and dark awareness of what it's like to have absolutely no water. I mean, we're not city water. I'm a little farm girl, grew up on well water. And so just all of a sudden, out of the blue on a Saturday afternoon, Leroy's taking a shower, and poof, it's gone. And it was like, oh. And to have it take 10 days to get somebody to pull the pump, replace everything. We made it back into the house right on that lunar eclipse. And again, Media Monk's mother ended up in the hospital. She's been going for about once a month now, ends up in there a week. Well, she now has been accepted into hospice. There will be no more going to the hospital. She's getting hospice care in her assisted living little apartment. And so right now it's comfort care and keeping her happy. And that lunar eclipse will square her moon. I happen to have the astrology charts for all 4 of our parents, which is extremely unusual, being born in the 1930s, to have them all. And that lunar eclipse will square her moon, and she is a cat with 9 lives on number 15. Thank you for all your prayers. We are looking at the fact that with no quality of life, we're okay with mom passing and to be out of pain and to have the relief for her 3 adult children. It's been getting more and more acute that this is the end. And so, thank you again for your prayers. And that was why we experienced our own lunar eclipse, was active in our composite chart. And there were a couple other little minor things, but we won't even go into those. And so we're really looking forward to this solar eclipse just being spring renewals of our regular rhythm and nature. During this solar eclipse, we have Venus just coming off of a conjunction with Neptune at about 28 degrees Pisces. Venus moved into Aries April 4th through April 29th. So Venus now adds to this feistiness throughout this eclipse month, so to speak, because we're still going to carry that eclipse energy forward for 6 months till we have the South Node eclipse season this fall. Venus in Aries over the North Node, over the Sun, over Chiron, meeting up with Mercury Retrograde. They have a conjunction April 19th at 17.5 Aries, right as the Sun ingresses into Taurus. Venus adds that feistiness to Aries as well. Venus can, in history, for our ancestors, Venus had as much to do with creating war as Mars did. And so Venus in Aries can create excitement. It can create feistiness. It can create those great old arguments. What the intent of Venus in Aries is to initiate a new value system. So these planets together really say, what do I want to do differently? What changes do you want to make in your world? What do you need to let go of? Piscean energy. Mars is right there with Saturn on the solar eclipse. Mars moves over Saturn April 10th, 2 days after the eclipse, at about 15 degrees Pisces. And so they can create their own feistiness. But really, as we look at this 2.5-year transit of Saturn in Pisces, it's what no longer works in our world. What is there to release? What is there to shed? Fantasies, ideals that don't work for us, a reality that is just not in space-time possible at the moment. Mars can help us get some insight into that. Mars ruling these Aries planets during this solar eclipse. Mars can help us with the releasing, with the shedding, with the Piscean, this is not real for me anymore. And of course, here's Mercury retrograde, getting ready to move over Chiron 3 times. The interior retrograde conjunction with the Sun, hold on a second here, April 11th, 22.5 degrees Aries. Throughout this month of April, it's just like boom, 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 boom. Something meets up in Aries. Something meets up in Aries. How are you going to move forward? How are you going to initiate in your world? Sun moved over the North Node April 4th, 15.5 Aries. Venus moves over the North Node April 17th, 15.5 degrees Aries, more or less. And so the inner planets are all now meeting up and moving forward with the North Node. And it sounds like I'm repeating myself. What new beginnings are on the horizon for you? We have, in the month of April, Mars being pretty active. It aspects Saturn, Pluto, Chiron, Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune between April 10th and April 28th. Mars starts catching up, and it's going to spend April and May moving over the Aries planets as well. So we have the ability to take all these initiations and put them into action, however best we want to do so. Mercury retrograde can give you the repeated messaging. Oh, it's this way. Oh, no, it's this way. Oh, it's this way. It's this way. A little bit of backdrop for that. Jupiter makes a waxing, Jupiter makes a waxing semi-sextile to Chiron, also April 10th, 19.5 degrees Taurus, Aries. They had that conjunction a year ago, remember? Back in the middle of March, Jupiter had one conjunction to Chiron at 14.5 degrees Aries. Oh, am I repeating that sign again? We talked back then, the Jupiter has a varied cycle with Chiron. I can't even guess the years. You know, Jupiter, Pluto 12, Jupiter, Neptune 13, Jupiter, Uranus, which I'll speak to next, 14-year cycles. Jupiter, Chiron can vary. I don't have that research at the tip of my fingers at the moment. But the point is, we've probably got, multiple years right now here with Jupiter to Chiron. How did we want to initiate healing last year? Reflect back to a year ago, last spring, with this Jupiter Aries conjunction, 14.5 Aries, or Jupiter Chiron, excuse me. What were you doing last year for your spring renewals? Here's your reflection with Jupiter 30 degrees beyond Chiron. The waxing semi-sextile is kind of like choice points. It's half of a sextile. It's 30 degrees beyond. We're starting to recognize how we are wanting to expand and evolve Jupiter with our own self-healings, Chiron, with how we want to take responsibility for our own healing, regardless of circumstances. Just a little mini reflection there for you. And again, with this eclipse at 19.5 Aries, kind of like reactivates that Jupiter-Chiron conjunction from last year. And then what do we have coming up later this month? We have Jupiter moving over Uranus, and they're going to have one conjunction April 20th, 22 degrees Taurus. Remember I said 14-year cycle between Jupiter and Uranus? And together they're that expanding an intuitive sense of ourself. And Jupiter's right brain intuition. Uranus is breaking free and individualizing. And so together they explore, who am I? And how am I unique and different? And how do I trust my own intuition with moving me forward, with taking the path that is best for me and my world? This conjunction is happening in Taurus, 22 degrees, and so it sets the theme of value systems. The inner side of Venus is Taurus. How are my values evolving? But then how am I, moving forward with food, clothing, shelter? Taurus is the physical earth. How do we survive? And beyond that, then, how do we flourish? How do I conserve the resources? Can we have earth events? Yes, it's quite possible. We had a little earthquake, multiple little earthquakes on the east side of the United States. What, new discoveries do we make about ourselves? And then our literal relationship with the physical earth, with the physical balance. By the way, I have to just share a little tidbit. I heard about this about a year ago, and one time, I think it was last summer, 2 summers ago, maybe it was 2 years ago. Me, Muck, and I were coming back from Colorado camping one summer, and the wind never stops blowing in Wyoming, and when we're pulling our camper, it's kind of nice to get off the interstate and get into those little 2-lane highways. And so we took an exploration on our way back, and I had just read this article, so I said, I want to go through Sunrise, Wyoming. And this is going to be appropriate for a little bit of a solar eclipse energy. Remember this, Sunrise, Wyoming. They have an archaeological project going on. They have found mainly probably spear points, but they have found archaeological evidence of humans that go back 14,000 years. Archaeology didn't think that humans were in Native America. They call it pre-Clovis, which means 13,000 years or earlier. Well, this site with arrowheads, etc., is 14,000 years old, maybe older, and it's now going to be one of the oldest, if not the oldest, site of human activity in North America. And it's in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. They're in process of creating a sustainable tourist attraction so that you will eventually be able to see it. It's an old mining town called Sunrise, Wyoming. There's 2 buildings left. You can go Google it if you want to, and you will probably find a couple of articles about it. Anyway, I like archaeology, and so I was just kind of fascinated that here we are with this solar eclipse, and I run across another article about Sunrise, Wyoming. And so I'm looking forward to going and visiting that place. They're thinking by fall of 24, they will start to have maybe some of the first opportunities for tourists, they're calling us tourists, to come and check out the dig, which, of course, archaeological digs in the Northern Plains happen every summer season with how our weather is. And so stay tuned. Talk about Aries initiation. You may hear more and more about the Sunrise, Wyoming archaeological find. So that Jupiter conjunction to Uranus and the physical Earth, and the fact that we are with proof that we had humans active 14,000 years ago on the physical Earth, in the physical Earth. So Jupiter, Uranus, how are you reviewing your value systems with the material world? I have said that Uranus in Taurus is one long 7-year climate event. We will look back on it and go, this is the time period where the majority of humans recognize that climate change is a real thing. So let's stay tuned. Will we have things happen with, the financial system? Taurus, being an earth sign, is one of the rulerships of resources, the physical ones, and the non-physical fiat resources that we call money these days. And that could be in this picture as well. Fonda saying here, the United States has about 4% of the world's population. We use 25% of the world's resources. And out of that 25% of the world's resources that the United States consumes, the upper 10% of American income consumes almost half of it, 40% of it. So most of us, the 90% on the bottom in the United States, so to speak, we don't consume as much resources as the super wealthy. However, the rest of the world can't live the way we do necessarily. So, where are your priorities with your resources? How are you learning to recycle? I'm going to say reduce, reuse, recycle. That's it, reduce, reuse, recycle. That can be part of the initiations in which we are moving through with all of this Aries energy that's going on. Now, Mercury's going to turn stationary direct just after the full moon later in April. It'll turn direct April 25th again at 16 degrees Aries. That interior conjunction that happens on the 11th. In astrology, that usually marks the halfway point of a Mercury retrograde cycle, the big aha, get my insights. And usually, if there's decision-making, Mercury retrograde, it goes a little smoother, a little easier after the interior conjunction. April 11th, again, 22.5 degrees Aries. Medium monk. Let me slow down, take a breath. One more thing. Sun in Taurus, April 19th, mantra. I create self-reliance with every metamorphosis. This can work for the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction and in their 14-year cycle. I create self-reliance with every metamorphosis. Taurus is self-reliance. The polarity Scorpio is confrontations of wherever the fixed modality energy is stuck. And we have a major metamorphic leap of growth. We can do this throughout the solar month of Taurus that's coming up. And of course, we can do it with Jupiter, Uranus right now, into the next few months, and it's going to be a theme for their 14-year cycle together. Okay, medium monk. Now it's a breath.
Yeah. Oh. Well, as I'm listening to you, it just becomes so necessary and obvious to me that we just have to be patient, very patient with others, maybe even be patient with our own enthusiasms and instincts and expressions of will, because rarely if ever do you see this much preponderance of energy right there in the sign of Aries, and with the lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, obviously there's a lot of power in that. So just be patient, express yourself appropriately, I guess. Don't be an idiot. Yeah.
Breathe deep, count to 10, 50. Go outside and take a nice walk.
But there could be just you could be upset with yourself at your own limitations, or some things that are going on inside of you. You can have intolerance for others, and so you just all these Aryan descriptive words or adjectives can pop up, particularly as we interact and with our work colleagues, other people, and friends and family, of course. So thank you, Star Lady, for all the research. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to these New Moon, Full Moon podcasts. Again, just know that we have our course sale on sale. For our course sale we'll go for one more week. So until the end of next week, save $50 on the EA course, segment 1 for new people to the course. And of course, if you're a segment 1 student, we invite you to purchase segment 2. All of that, save $50, as well as take a look at the Great Ingress Decade, which is a fantastic workshop on these long-term ingresses of 4 major planets, going off into this next decade. So until next time, move with joy and passion on this exciting journey to the core of our souls.